today we're going to be adding our color to our portraits. Right now I have my line layer. I'm checking to make sure I have all of my key details. I'm not missing anything like eyebrows. If I have folds or wrinkles in my shirt, my collar, my hair, I really want to make sure I get those details. That shows that I understand how line is going to help to enhance that work, okay? So I can go over to my right hand side and I've got my line layer and I have my photo. These are already created when we started our project. We're going to learn how to make a brand new layer. So if I click here and I go to this plus button, I'm going to click it and it's going to make a brand new layer. I'm going to find the 4 arrows right here. Let's see, hopefully you can see me circling it. It's right above the eye and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. I'm going to move it below my line layer. And this is so that our color is not going to go over the top of the lines that we already made and we worked really, really hard on. So I'm going to then start to add my color. We're going to go over to the right hand side, or excuse me, left hand side, and we're going to click on color. Right now there is some colors that are already pre-generated. And if I want to make something custom, I can click on this word here. And anytime I go over to the left hand side, it's going to be really, really light. And you can also see it kind of adds some gray to the color. So the top corner is white, then I go down, it gets a little bit darker and more muted. If I go over to the right hand side, it gets really, really bright and pure. Look at that bright, bright red. And as I go down to the bottom, it's going to get a lot more dark. So play around with this, find something that works the best. You want to make sure your colors are accurate and similar to the colors in your picture. So speaking of that, I want to go back to my layers and turn on my photo. So the eye is what allows us to see that again, right? I can click on my line layer and get rid of that. And I can always go back and forth. Excuse me, do not click on the delete because you won't be able to get that back if you exit out. Yes, you can if you go undo, but it's going to autosave. And you're always just going to click back and forth with the eye, okay? So let's see, I want to find a good color for my hat. It's a pretty good place to be. I'm going to go down below and I'm going to make sure that my size is big enough to cover a large area, but then when I get to my tinier parts, I can always make it smaller so I don't have to go over my edges and my lines. Down here is the word opacity. That just means that my color is going to be not see-through. If I make it larger, I can show you what that looks like. You can see through to my background and my wall, but if I do it with my opacity all the way over to the right, I can't see anything through. So sometimes that tool is kind of helpful, but for the sake of our project, we're just going to be working with that pure color. I'm going to make my size a little bit smaller and I'm good to go. All right, I'm going to fill in my hat the best that I can. Most of you won't have a hat to have to worry about, but I was wearing this on Elf Day, so we'll get to remember it forever. I'm going to come in here. Let's say that I go over my edge and I don't like how that looks anymore, okay? I'm going to switch over so you can see it really clear, okay? I went over my edge and I think that doesn't quite look right? My craftsmanship isn't really up to par. I'm going out of those lines. I can use my erase tool. And this is going to be my best friend. I can clean up those lines. Just like so. And I could also then come back in with a small brush to be able to get those other little areas. Okay. So we'll make it smaller. Gotta go back to my marker. Make sure, especially when we're coloring, that you always are on your marker as well. We did use the pen tool for our line work, but the marker is what we want when we add our color. It just gives it a little bit different effect, but it is nice and bold, and it will do the best work for this part of our project. Okay, there is my hat. So I'm going to talk about one more thing. I'm not going to color my whole picture in front of you today, but I'm going to talk about how to color in the eyes. So when I'm doing my eyes, I want to make sure that I get those different details as well. I'm going to make my brush nice and teeny tiny. I want to get the whites of my eyes on those corners. I'm going to go back and have my photo turned on as well. I'm going to get those colored in. Also, one more thing, when you are coloring, make sure that you are on the correct layer. So most of the time this shouldn't be a problem, but if you click onto your line layer and I start to color, notice how I am going completely on top of my line and I can't see it anymore. So if I go back and I click onto my drawing, it's almost like I'm drawing right underneath it. Okay, so make sure that if you are getting stuck and you're noticing that your lines are going away, you may be on the wrong layer. Clean up with my eraser. Okay, now I'm going to find the color of my eyes. My eyes are kind of a bluish color. I'm going to fill that in. Oops, my eraser is still on. Fill that in. Okay, and last but not least, I like to put a little highlight in my eye. That's the part where the light hits. It gives a little reflection. So I can do a small white dot in each of my eyes. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay. So there are my eyes. If your black pupils are not as clear like this one on the right, you can also touch that up. These are some extra little details, right? I'm kind of going above and beyond, really making sure I get all my details how I want them. So the next time you see me, we are going to be filling in our background and we are almost done. There we go. Oops, can't quite get it right. And, there we go. Okay, see you next time.